what? A famine, right? We were going through a famine. And amongst that famine, or with that famine taking place, when you go to the book of Lamentations, the 4th chapter, the 8th verse, what does it say in the KJV first? Their visage is blacker than their coal. Now, I brought this out because when we bring out, and I believe I heard Vocab or a part of his minion group or whatever so-called Christian mentioned when we pulled out the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14 and 2, when we mentioned it, we said what? Or they said, well, you see, they was only like that because of a famine. Well, you're right. When dark people go through a famine, what happens to them? Well, they get darker, right? That's what happens. They don't lighten up when they're going through a famine. No, they get darker. So hence, this is the reason why I'm pulling this out to back it up. The book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 8. And I'm going to read that one more time. It says, their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It has become like a stick, right? They was going through a famine, all right? And typically when you see someone going through a starvation like that, this is what they would look like. They wouldn't have no fat or meat or left, too much left on their bones. Their body will be disintegrating. That's why it says it is withered. It is to become like a stick. In the NIV, it says, but now they are blacker than soot. They are not recognized in the streets. Their skin has shriveled on their bones. It has become as dry as a stick. Right? Now, Judah, usually when Judah is being mentioned, they were, it was like all in three. It was talking about the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Right? Now, this is what was taking place, this famine that we're going into. And this is just to further back up that the so-called, or the Jews, the so-called Negroes, were dark-complected people. Now, with me saying all that, you should know what I'm about to get. Isn't the Lord a Jew? Isn't he from the tribe of Judah? Which that would make him a Jew. Right? Well, we already mentioned that we already got the color of the Jews. The book of Hebrews chapter 7, verse 14, it says, For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. Read it in the NIV. For it is clear that our Lord descended from Judah, and in regard to the tribe, Moses said nothing about priests. It said our Lord descended. Check that out. Let's go into that word. It says to rise, arise, to rise from, be descended from. All right. Because not only was his father an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, his mother were also, but the point, his father is the one who carries that seed, right? Who carries that, who the fathers, who the lineage is determined from. So it's not the point that his mother, she was from the tribe of Judah, which that's cool and all, but it was all about the father. And he descended from that that bloodline, that royal bloodline. What does it say? Yep, right here. That's what I want. Romans chapter 1, verse 3. It says, let's read it in NIV. It says, Paul, a servant of Yahushua, or Mashiach Yahushua, called to be an apostle and set apart for the gospel of the Most High, the gospel he promised beforehand through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, regarding his son, who is to his earthly life. His what? His earthly life, because Yahushua came in the flesh when he came to the earth. Who was a descendant of David. Come on. I can stop right there. Now let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 1. Matthew 1:1, it says, the book of the generations of Yahushua Mashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Now this is going all the way to the lineage. You follow the lineage up, right? Follow this lineage, which they was tracking it back then. Jump to verse 16. It says, and Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Yahushua, who is called Mashiach, all right, who is called the Messiah. Okay, so this is the whole lineage, okay, going up to Yahushua. But as you can see, it goes to this whole lineage. And you go to 6, it says, and Jesse begot David the king. And it further continue. Yahushua came from that direct line. He was the descendant, right, from this line. All right, no ifs, ands, or buts around about it. You can't get around this, man. Last but not least, the Lord will hope you're keeping up. It's the book of Daniel, chapter 10, verse 5. It says, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with the fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as the lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like unto color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. So it continues to go back. It says what? It says, and his arms and his feet like in the color to polished brass. It's a color, right? You know what color that is. You look up polished brass. When you go into the book of Revelation, it talks about what it says, as if it burned, right? Fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace. But anything in a furnace is going to become darker. All right. But like I said, we didn't even have to go to the book of Revelation. I just proved it just within these few scriptures. You see? So just a quick hit through the spiritual land back. Lord will help us edify. Next time I want to say shalom.